Hey, what's up YouTube? Jeff Lotter here, your favorite criminal defense attorney based out of Orlando, Florida. Today we got something special lined up. We're going to break down a DUI in-car video with the actual police officer that made the arrest. So we're lucky to have former DUI cop Jeff Lotter with us today. He's going to break down one of his arrests. Jeff, go ahead and introduce yourself. Hey, thanks for the introduction. So Jeff Lotter spent 6 years as a state trooper, 6 years as an Orange County deputy, and then 6 years in the military as a military police officer. And a large portion of my time as a civilian police officer, I spent as a DUI cop. So today, Jeff asked me to bring in one of my videos so that way we can break it down, go step by step through what I was thinking when I was making the arrest, provide you some insight in the mind of the police as they're pulling you over. So I look forward to getting to know you, and if this works out well, maybe Jeff and I will do a couple more videos in the future. What do you say?
Let's do it.
So I first want to talk about where we're at in this video. You see, Orange County is where I was assigned most of the time, even as a state trooper. It's broken down by jurisdiction. So I was in Troop D, Orlando, assigned to Central Florida, specifically Orange County on their DUI unit. And so during that time, I identified hotspot areas depending on the day of week and the time of night on where I'd want to be. So what I'm doing during the beginning of my shift is really hunting. I'm identifying, I have a generic game plan of where I'm going to go, and things interrupt so you can't always follow it, but I have a kind of idea of what I'm going to do and where I'm going to be looking for my DUI arrest or drug arrest or whatever type of arrest I'm looking for the given shift. And so I put some hot spots up here for the Orange County area on where I would oftentimes be looking. You got Dr. Phillips, downtown, of course, UCF, and there's a lot of good areas, but some areas are really target-rich environments. So on this particular case, we found ourselves in the UCF area, right off UCF campus. You'll see if I turn right, I go onto UCF campus, and if I turn left, I go directly away from UCF campus. So as I pull up this traffic light, I'm really looking for a DUI. I'm in prime DUI hours. I'm driving an unmarked Coca-Cola red Chevy Impala. There's no traffic really in front of me. There's no real traffic to my going on campus. I look to my left, there's no real traffic coming up University. There's a few cars coming southbound towards me, but I had my side view mirrors positioned so that I could see into the bar, a popular bar over there called the Pub. I saw a couple cars going southbound and a couple cars pulling out of there. So if you notice, I eat the red light and I do a U-turn to start looking at those cars. Now, at the time, I had no idea if I was going to have anything or get anything, but I'm looking for targets and there's nothing ahead of me. It only makes sense to go after this group of cars to see if anything jumps out at me. And then as I do the U-turn, you'll see the guy pulls out of the Knight's Pub and then starts going southbound in the northbound lanes, jumps over the median. Well, you're watching it, so I don't necessarily need to explain it. Now you'll notice there's no audio for the first few seconds. And the reason why is because most police cameras are set up on a delay, where you hit the record button or you turn on the lights, which automatically activates the camera, and there's a 30-second, 10-second, 60-second, there's a gap in time where the video pre-records, but there's no audio for that. A lot of times you'll hear a beep sound once the audio starts. So keep that in mind. I mean, I don't know if it's going to play any specific purpose in your life, but when a police officer activates his camera, it activates, if I push the button now, the video will backtrack for 30 seconds, but the audio will start right when I push that button. And so that's what you see there in this particular case. You see the light, or you see the car doing the U-turn, but the camera didn't actually activate till afterwards, so there's no audio during that first portion of it. So now, let's break this down a little bit further. Let's just assume that I didn't pull this guy over for whatever reason. And let's look at the other cars that are out there right now. So the one car, you see the brake lights come on. Now, the brake lights, what that suggests to me is that car is aware that that truck just went over the median and started driving southbound in the northbound lanes. The fact the driver is applying its brakes for no other reason leads me to believe that that's what he's doing it for. That's important because if I didn't stop that truck, I probably would not be targeting that car that applied its brakes, because that seems like complex thought, the ability to see, ability to perceive, and ability to understand your surroundings. But if you look at the car next to it, that car doesn't apply its brakes at all. Now, that might be nothing. Maybe they didn't see the truck. I don't know. Maybe they were texting. Maybe it just wasn't positioned right. But that triggers something in my mind of maybe this person is impaired, and that's why they didn't respond appropriately like that other car did for this given circumstance. So nothing in of itself that gets me to, place this person to arrest or even pull the car over, but that's my psychology. That's what's going on in my mind as I'm following behind these cars. Now, that other car, the car that's a ways up there, that car was going substantially faster. That car and the car that didn't apply its brakes are the two cars out of that group of 3 or 4 cars there that I would look at if this truck didn't go the wrong way. And I think that's important to understand that I was looking for high probability targets. I didn't want to pull over a car with a soccer mom in it, or I guess if she was drunk, that's what I was looking for, but I didn't want to pull over somebody who was sober. I wanted to find somebody who was drunk. That was my job. That's what I was supposed to be doing. So if I can identify, or I did identify, driving patterns, some of them were more weighty than others, but that helped me identify whether someone was actually impaired or not. Now, of course, there's all the standard clues that NHTSA, National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, gives out, but I didn't find all those clues that reliable. So for instance, drive without headlights. Yeah, it turns out a lot of the people that don't have headlights on are DUI. But at the same time, I've seen a whole mess of people without their headlights on that aren't DUI. So I don't really find that as a good indicator. So, it is what it is. Nonetheless, so now I'm behind the vehicle. I got to call this out, and I call it out as a reckless driver. It's a signal 12.
County Traffic 14, copy a signal 12.
The reason why I called it out as a reckless driver, because I wanted the other police officers around me in the area to know I got something a little bit out of the ordinary here. It's not an emergency, but if you're in the area, come on, swing by and help me out a little bit or check me out. So everybody in the area, they don't know exactly what's going on, and I'm not overly worried about it, but I want them to know there is something a little bit heightened here, and so if they're in the area, they're going to come. And you'll hear that during the audio, what they say. Now, there's something else. I'm not sure if it got cut off or not. I can't remember. But during the audio transmission, you'll hear you can cancel 1033 traffic or something along those lines.
County 624 Alpha. Hey, step out here for me, please.
Now, that was a jab at me. No doubt about it, I messed up. So the channel, that radio channel, was on 1033 traffic because patrol deputies were searching, I believe they were searching searching a house and an alarm. And so they said clear channel. What clear channel means is no talking. Unless you got some crazy emergency, keep off the air because we're doing something particularly dangerous. And so I broke that. Now, it's not a huge deal. It's just kind of like poor etiquette is probably the better way to say it. And so when I called out my vehicle going the wrong way down the road, they responded back like 10, 15 seconds later, yeah, I guess you can cancel 33 traffic. And that was really a jab at me for breaking 1033 traffic for something not important. And looking back at it, I probably would have, I may have delayed some or talked less. I talked a lot on the radio. They made fun of me about that. But anyways, so as you'll see the car driving down there, it's kind of like the off-road derby here going up on the curb. But the vehicle does respond to me and does stop, I guess, somewhat appropriately. So I'm not really concerned about violence at this point in time. What I'm more concerned about is, one, is this guy going to do something stupid when he gets out of the car, or is he going to take off on me or back into me? So I'm more concerned about that type of drunken stupid instead of directed violence towards me. But here's the concern with violence, is that when someone is drunk, they obviously don't have control of their normal faculties. And so therefore, they find themselves in a situation where they more often want to fight the police. So I know that if this person's that drunk that he's driving the wrong way and going all over the road like that, if or when I arrest this guy, if and when I guess, I was pretty confident I'd be arresting the guy. But nonetheless, if and when I arrest this guy, I'm going to want to pay particular attention because of his impairment, and I don't want to get myself hurt. So I may have to be more stern with this person than I would typically if somebody had a lower legal limit. But now, I haven't even stopped the car yet. So right now, I'm just thinking, these are the things that are going through my head. This guy is probably DUI. He's come out of the Knights pub. He went the wrong way down the road. He's all over the road. And I don't see any reason why somebody would drive like that. So I believe he's going to be going to jail. So I'm now forecasting and kind of predicting how this is going to go down. So I get out of the car and walk up, do my initial assessment. I take the guy's keys because I don't want him driving away. So if the police officer, that's a good clue right there, because if the police officer tells you to turn off the car, could be for a number of reasons, but I would say more often than not, it's because you've triggered something with that police officer to let them think that you might take flight or that you're some type of risk. Just keep that in mind. If the officer asks you to turn your car off, you should be aware that something you're doing is triggering that for the most part. Like I said, there could be circumstances that you'd want the car off. Maybe your exhaust is loud, or maybe your exhaust is heavy and it's causing the officer to have difficulty breathing. But point made. So I walk up to this car, and first thing I do, take the keys out, and I see he's clearly intoxicated, no doubt about it. But during the conversation, this young guy with a passenger, and they were just college kids. They were not going to be a threat to me, or I didn't perceive them to be a threat to me. So my officer safety or my concern dropped substantially. Still want to make sure I wasn't going to drive off, but the passenger appeared sober at the initial onset. So here's another thing that happened is that I gave the wrong location. Well, I don't think I gave the wrong location. I think the dispatcher didn't hear me. I wasn't clear when I articulated where I was pulling the vehicle over originally. They had me about 4 miles up the road at a different cross street. So when I corrected, or when I gave my location to them the second time, another police officer, he's actually a supervisor, was looking for me and was probably slightly annoyed that I gave the wrong location, when really I didn't give the wrong location. It was just I wasn't clear. Maybe on my nerves, or maybe something was going on with my voice at that point in time, or didn't hold the button down. Who knows? Anyways, we updated that location, and then backup is there shortly thereafter.
Hey, step out here for me, please. Hey, step out here for me. Step out here for me. What's that? What are you doing? What are you doing? Right over here. What are you doing? What's that? Turn around, face me.
Can't reach that.
Can't reach what?
No, right there.
Can you walk over here?
No.
Why not?
No.
What do you mean it's not happening?
With my self-featured process, no. You want me to walk that way?
Can you come over here?
I can, but I can't do that.
Okay, stop right there. You're good to go. Hold that. Can you stop right there? Okay, can you stay with your feet together?
No.
Do you have any medical?
I'm gonna sit back across my.
You go leave against the truck if you need to. Go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah, that's okay. All right. Do you have any medical problems?
One of the things I found important with the video is audio. A DUI video that has no audio is going to be horrible to play for the jury from the police officer's standpoint. But just like that, I did a lot of acting when I was working as well. And so I would be demonstrating for the jury that I'm not some type of asshole here. This guy is just drunk. And so I try to give the person every benefit of the doubt. Everything would go in their favor until it just got over the top. And that's what I did in this particular case. So He's obviously drunk. I don't need to do any field sobriety exercise. I can just rest him right there. It's so clear. But I have him step out of the car, and I play a little game with him, and I just show that he can't even walk down to the end of the car. And then I try to have him step out and talk to me. And I'm really just demonstrating that this guy, there's no question about it. If you were to put this in front of any jury, he will be found guilty. And I want to make that clear in my video because as a police officer, that stops me from going to court. Because if it's so clear and it's on video, man, that's hard to beat no matter how good your defense attorney is, because at that point in time, you can't go to trial on the case because you just look slap silly drunk. Unless there's some rare, crazy exception where you get the video excluded, you're in a bad situation there because no matter what, you're going to lose. Even if the breath test results get thrown out or whatever. So you'll notice that good police officers do that. But what you'll also notice is that the police officers oftentimes exaggerate. Now, I may be guilty or may have been guilty about this. I tried not to exaggerate the facts. I tried to be clear and concise and never put anything. I was just fact finder, but I would definitely play it up. But you'll see officers and you'll hear video officers talking to their mics as they're going through, and they're really describing things that are much more egregious than what happened. You know, using like, oh my gosh, he almost crashed. You got to stop this guy to save somebody's life. And you'll hear things like that. You're like, he didn't almost crash. He just weaved a little bit. What are you doing to me? You know? So there's a fine line there. And I think police officers that overplay that are really doing the clients a solid. Because when they over-exaggerate to the point where it's unrealistic, then they lose credibility with the jury. And at that point in time, they can be attacked based upon all the stuff that's not on the video. So it's almost like you can't believe what you hear the officer testify to because you heard what he said about what he saw and it didn't match up on the video. And so therefore, how are you going to believe what he's telling you in court? So those officers annoy me a little bit for the most part, but I think in the end result, it doesn't hurt our case because even though they're saying this crap, I'm going to undercut them. And it's really not a wise move for them. So I don't go out of my way to make corrections on that and tell them, hey, you're being a jackass here. But anyways, it happens. There's something big here that most people probably don't pick up on. And that is me getting the passenger committed to my side as a witness for me. And the way I did that was I was like, man, you saw how crazy he was driving. You knew how drunk he was. Why didn't you drive? And at that point in time, we engage in a conversation which she's admitting that she knows he's too drunk to drive. What that does is if they call her as a witness to say, oh, he only had 2 beers at the club or at the pub. Now we have her locked into a story because we can impeach her based upon the conversation that she and I had roadside. So that's a huge element too, getting witness statements or at least a verbal lock-in on the passengers so those passengers cannot become defense witnesses against the officer's case. Now, if the flip side of that, if you're a passenger or you have passengers in your car, you don't want them talking to the cops. I would say they don't say anything at all or profess your innocence, that go along those lines. But passenger admissions are almost as damning as driver admissions, and they're much more likely to come in because there's no Miranda issues for sure. They're making lay observations based upon their life experience about your ability to operate a motor vehicle. And if those come in, man, you're hurting. You're hurting pretty bad. So keep your mouth shut if you're the passenger. So I didn't show it on this video, but there's something that happened here that really got under my skin. And it didn't happen a lot, but several times in my 1,000 or so arrests or DUI arrests. And while he's in the back seat of my car, he is totally worried about himself. And I'm like, dude, you just had, an attractive young female who has her whole life in front of her, and you put her at risk driving southbound in the northbound lanes. You put everybody going the other direction at risk, and all you can think about is turn the AC on or why am I going to jail? Man, that's under my skin. But nonetheless, Man, he didn't know. He still doesn't deserve the harsh punishments that come along with the DUI. The arrest was good enough. This is a good guy. He made a mistake in his life, and hopefully this mistake didn't define him. And hopefully he overcame this obstacle and is doing great things in his life, because I wish nothing but the best for, almost everybody I arrested. I'm sure there's a few out there. I can think of a couple that I want to rot in. But anyways, that's a whole other story. God bless, guys, and thank you. So I want to thank Jeff Lotter for taking the time to come in here today. It's not easy getting both of us in the room at the same time together. Let me tell you, it is not easy. If you're enjoying this content, hit that subscribe button, hit the notification button. Let me know that you're interested. Add a comment below, hit that thumbs up, and look forward to seeing the next one.
County Traffic 14, copy at 12. Fayette southbound, Central Florida East, all over the road. Give me a couple minutes. County 324 Alpha. Hey, step it out here for me, please. Hey, step it out here for me. Step it out here for me. What's that? What are you doing? Right over here. What are you doing? What's that? Turn around, face me.
Can't reach that.
Can't reach what?
Not right there.
Can you walk over here?
No.
Why not?
Not. No.
What do you mean it's not happening?
With myself featured cross that. No. You want me to walk that way?
Can you come over here?
I can, but I can't do that.
Okay, stop right there. You're good to go. Hold that. Can you stop right there? Okay, can you stay with your feet together?
No.
Do you have any medical?
I'm gonna sit back across my.
You go leave against the truck if you need to. Go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah, that's okay. All right. Do you have any medical problems?
I got glaucoma in the eyes, and that's it.
Glaucoma in the eyes, and that's it. Well then, what's wrong with you right now?
Might as well skip past that.
What's wrong with you right now?
I'm gonna pull some cops across that. We're gonna need to.
What's that?
You're gonna need to pull some cops across that. We're gonna need to.
Turn around, face away from me. Turn around, face away from me. Put your hands down your back. Don't threaten me.
I'm not.
Put your hands down your back. If you just said you got to pull some cops out.